What's going on, guys? It's Ninja Turtle here, and this video will serve as a kind of a month-end wrap-up type of thing where I basically talk about and show off some of the things that I've been working on that really is not worth its own video. Some figures and things that are updates, repaints, small modifications, that sort of thing that I just did to pass the time or did because it just felt like working on it, but why make a whole video on such a small thing? So we're going to have the basically also my failures too. I'm going to throw those in there, some things that I just didn't do all that well, that I don't want to make a video on. So we're going to throw that in here just to let you know I'm still working on stuff. I didn't post any videos in September other than at the end of the month, which was the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel one. Here's why, because I was working on this other stuff too. So we're going to have a really good one, so-so one, and a bad one in this video. And this Storm is the so-so one. So real quick, obviously it's Storm. It's, if you know anything about collecting, then you know that there was a white Hasbro version of her 90s costume that was released a couple years ago. And I bought two. I bought one just to have at the time, and then I was able to grab a second one somewhere. I actually have no idea when and how I got a second one, but I did, and was able to just snag it, and I was going to sell it. Actually, I was going to hold on to it and sell it in the future. And then I started making customs, and I saw a really awesome custom someone else did where they painted their Storm silver, and I was like, hell yeah, that would be awesome. So I decided to do my own. Alright, so here is the original Hasbro version in all white, and then my repainted in silver. So can you tell a difference? I hope so. That's one of the things that I want to talk about, is that the silver that I use is Model Masters silver, and I only did one coat of paint. I took this, I didn't remove any paint, so it's the same yellow that's on there, on the figure. I didn't do any modifications with that whatsoever, but everything else that's white, I sanded it and did one coat of silver on this. I thought that would be good enough, and at the time I started noticing that difference, but as it dried and as I put the finish sealer on there, I was like, it doesn't really look like I painted it at all. I mean, I can see it, but it's not so strong and apparent. Comparing it to the one that inspired me, they had a much darker, it was more like a grayish silver, like a darker silver than the paint that I use. I have no idea what brand paint that they use on their Storm. I mean, it's not really something that I need to know. Silver, you know, it's just, if I wanted to redo it, I can find a different darker color or do a second coat of silver on here, which is probably one of the reasons why it doesn't show up that much, is because I did a very thin coat of silver. It might have been better if I did more layers of it. Also, full disclosure, I've had the hardest time making these Storms stand up, so they're actually leaning up against this thing just a tad bit, and that's even with this one not being modified whatsoever in the legs. However, I do want to highlight something, and that's her hair, the hair differences. If you didn't know, there is also the black version of this costume, official release, the Black Storm, black costume I should say, which I do have also. I bought this, that's a long story, at GameStop, but yeah, so this is just an extra one that was going to be fodder because I don't like her in this version, but I wanted to have the extra head and the hair, etc. She's missing this X button right there for a reason, and you will find that out very soon in a new custom that I am going to be putting up within the next few weeks. But her hair, the default hair on this Black Storm is actually this one here with the white. It's all like super white on this one, so that came with the Black Storm, and I like the way this looks on the white costume Storm. And then I took the hair that was on this white Storm, which is this one with the darker bluish wash on there, and put it on this silver Storm. So that's that. And if that's something that you're interested in, boom, there you go. You can make that quick swap. I don't know if it's worth spending $20 or $30 on another Storm just so you can do a head swap, but that is up to you. Other than that, yeah, I did have to repaint the X's on there because the paint jobs on them weren't very good. And lastly, that little error right there in the claw. When I was trying to take it apart so I can do the repaint, I had a little boo-boo and ripped that off accidentally. So, oopsies. I might try to fix that with like maybe some Mod Podge or something like that. I didn't really want to put glue, super glue to it, but I might leave it like that. It's not that important to me, but it is a little boo-boo, an error that I made. We'll come back to the Storm for a later part of this video, and you'll see why I painted it silver. I did it for a specific reason. Okay, so that was the so-so, and this was the ugly. This one was the bad. So I attempted to see how good I could be. I was feeling myself basically, because all the really cool customs I have been making, I was like, man, I wonder if I could possibly match or beat the quality of an official Hasbro release, because I have everything I need to make the Electro that was redone by Hasbro in the most recent Spider-Man Retro Wave. So the original Electro that they made, I don't know how many years ago, was part of, I believe, like a Rhino Wave or something like that. But it was more like a modern Electro, and it had these, I used the head from that and these hands from that. So it had these hands and it had this head sculpt. And the only difference was it was very skinny. It was like on the old Spider-Man body, and the pants were black, and again, it had these hands and stuff on there. But that's for the most part it. It did have an alternate head sculpt, which I don't have available at the moment, but a maskless head sculpt, and that's about it. So the newer one looks amazing and it looks really good, but it does use the exact same head sculpt. It uses the exact same hands, but they're colored yellow instead of this bluish lightning color, which I like this personally better, but the yellow doesn't look bad. And yeah, so he's armless for a reason. I'll get into that. One of the things that I tried to do, and one of the things that I've learned, and this was one of the teaching lessons for me, is that I don't need to sculpt absolutely every detail. Personally, I've said this before, I like having sculpt on the figure to help me have a separate line, so I know where one color starts and one color begins. So when I run the brush, I can run the brush against the sculpt, and it keeps it from, keeps me honest. It keeps the lines as a hard cloth line. So that's what I wanted to do all along the sides here, and all along the back for the lightning bolt. And I found out that under pressure, I guess on stream, I suck at making lightning bolts. So it was, again, epoxy sculpt for everything here, and it's completely unnecessary. Hasbro just painted the lightning bolt on, but for me, whatever reason, I just couldn't figure out how to get the lightning bolt to be a lightning bolt. You can see right here on this part that it barely even registered to me to get that better. Now, since making this, I've figured out a few things about how to do the lightning bolt and how to be better at it, but the sculpt is a one-time deal. Like, once it's on there, and I either can pry it off and take it off again, but it's not like I can just repaint it or redo it or something like that. So at this point, this one's kind of scrap. I just don't like the quality of what I did with the lightning bolts. Overall, I think the paint color is okay. It does have a lot of streakiness and all of that just kind of par for the course when you're making customs and hand painting as opposed to doing airbrush. It was primed, but the actual body for this came from a Guardian, the recently released Guardian of Alpha Flight in the Wendigo wave. I don't have an extra one, so I can't just pull it out, but it is the exact same body that is on this Black Panther. So it is, you know, I bought this RIP, by the way, RIP Chadwick Boseman, which I'll also get back to this in this video, but the Guardian is the exact same body mold as this Black Panther, which is the exact same body mold as the official Electro. They used that, so I'm not using the wrong body mold. And then if you follow this channel enough, you also would know that this is the first video and also the first custom of a male character that I've made. So it's still a failure, and this was my first time just working with a male body. The female bodies to work with from Hasbro are so much easier and so much more appealing, and so much, for various reasons, but from just a custom making standpoint, I can take it apart and not have to do any cracking and not have to worry about any real issue with making a female figure in the way that I do them, specifically with poppable pop on and off legs like I use exclusively. I don't use the ones that are the older body molds. But with the guys, none of the guys have that feature where the legs pop on and off. Using this or Bucky Cap or whatever body mold, they all have their specific things. And just to make a long story short, I did not pop or crack anything off of this figure. Obviously the arms and all of the pins and stuff, I take all of that off, but I didn't crack it, didn't crack the torso. So this is me seeing whether or not I can make a figure without cracking the torso, and basically no. All of the red on the inside, because this was red for a Guardian, is still visible. It's hard to see here, but it's still visible in there, and it's so hard to paint all of the inside of there. I just couldn't do it. It's so hard. The shoulder one, I heated this up because I attempted to pull it out like a female arm. It didn't work out. So yeah, you need to crack this to pull that out. And then when I heated it up, it made it super loose, so that sucks. And then yeah, all of the shoulder blades on both sides, they rub against the torso a whole lot. So you really need to take this apart to sand it to keep the plastic from rubbing and being able to get the paint in there, etc. Just a lot of lessons learned with this. But one of the reasons why it's the ultimate failure is actually this, because I obviously put it together, but this arm not so much for whatever reason, and I just haven't sat down to figure it out. But it was super frustrating. I can't get this bicep to go down on the elbow. It just won't. It won't shove in like this one did. It worked out fine, but this one just won't do it. It just will not. So I'm gonna have to either start all over with a different figure, or try to fix this and sand it down and maybe make it smaller so it shoves in there. It's not that there's too much paint or too much sealer or anything. I really don't know why it won't go in there, but it just won't. So that's something I just got to deal with and try to fix and figure out. And one thing that I didn't do yet, because this happened, specifically this, is that he has lightning bolts on his forearms that go out, and I was going to make those myself using soft plastic. I do have the plastic material to be able to do that sort of thing, and I'm still working out the kinks of how to get my own cuts and custom sizes and shapes and things like that. But because this didn't work out, I didn't bother doing that. So this will be like a side project that I might come back to maybe in a month or so, and just like, okay, let's get this done and fix and figure it out, because I do want this to look as good as possible and not necessarily just go out and spend 20 bucks and buy the official release. All right, enough of this guy. All right, time for some good news, and that is I decided to repaint this Black Panther, which is a Toy Biz Black Panther. I've had it pretty much since its release. It's when I started collecting action figures. So I believe this is 2006. I could be wrong about that, but I believe I bought it within a year or so of it being released. So it's been sitting on my shelf for a long time, since I moved here It got really, so about 3 or 4 years, it's been sitting there untouched, not doing anything, and it got really, really nasty, dirty, just dust floating around my room. But there was also cobwebs on there, and yeah, it needed some more love. In general, the paint on Toy Biz figures are really good and they still hold up really well, but for whatever reason on this Black Panther, it's like, I don't know if it's black plastic and then it just has, I don't know, but some parts of it had like where it was like purple on his chest and on his arms and things like that, just like purple spots all over, and it just doesn't make sense unless it's like actually the figure is purple and then they painted black on top of it, or I really don't know. But it didn't look this rich and this deep, and this is just a flat black, nothing semi-gloss or anything special. It's the same black that I use on like almost all of my figures, and then using a matte finish. So I don't know why it's so shiny, but it's so beautiful. It looks so good. I'm super glad that I did it. And again, RIP to Chadwick Boseman. I had already planned on painting this and freshening it up, but literally the weekend that he passed, it just it was like, okay, I should work on that Black Panther. That Black Panther I showed with the Electro, I bought that the same weekend because it's a figure that I've always wanted, but I kept putting it off because it wasn't going up in value and I didn't need it so much. I was spending money on other things, so I just like, okay, I'll get it later. But when that happened, I was like, okay, I need to get that figure now just in case it goes up in value and I won't be able to get it. So I'm super happy to have that newer one. But this is like a 90s costume, so I had it for a very long time. I still absolutely love this figure. It's absolutely gorgeous. The gold was the Angelus on here, because this is very soft plastic here and up here. So this Angelus leather paint, gold, and it does have a gloss finish on that. And then the gold on his wrists and on his claws is the Model Masters gold, the regular gold color. So it's a very dark type of gold on his wrists and on his claws. Generally, I don't like it that gold, but it works out pretty well for this thing. I had him sitting on the shelf with my classic Avengers, all of those guys and it's like a black bookshelf, and you could barely see him, but he's like Batman-like, where he's like, you just see his white eyes, which is another thing I did update here. His eyes were super squinty small. You couldn't see them pretty much at all. I made them a little bit bigger, not that much bigger, but enough that you can see them from a distance. And they were kind of like a pearlish color too, so just flat white in the eyes, making them a little bigger. And then I did also repaint the cape, just another Angelus black with flat matte finish, and it still shines really nicely. So I don't know how shiny it would look if it was gloss finish, but matte finish did all this. But I absolutely love how this turned out. Like, it's I want to say it's my favorite of thing that I've done, but it's up there because it's just beautiful. And I took this off of my classic Avengers shelf because I'm going to maybe, hopefully, probably remake a classic Black Panther, like him with his short cape and maybe like the gray ends, which was a Walmart exclusive that I was never able to get, sadly enough. So I'm gonna probably make one, but there's a reason why I took him off of that shelf, and that's because I now have a dedicated Marvel vs. Capcom collection going, and Black Panther wears a costume very similar to this in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So now I have this to represent Black Panther for that shelf, which I will show you how that's going right now. Alright, apologies for the awkward lighting. I don't have this set up perfectly for this sort of thing, but here is how my current Marvel vs. Capcom collection of figures is going. Right now, that collection is very Marvel heavy. It's only Marvel, as almost all of the Capcom side of the Marvel vs. Capcom will one go on this shelf down here, which is very dirty, and that's 2B over there. I'm going to be cleaning this up and setting it up so Capcom will go below and Marvel will go right here. And secondly, all of the Capcom figures I'm pretty much going to have to make. Now, this is a collection for all of the games between X-Men Children of the Atom and Marvel Infinite and everything that came in between, though it's not necessarily going to have every single character because, like I said, Capcom, I'm going to have to probably make them all, and I don't necessarily want to make every single character anyway. It would be very exhausting, so on, but here we are. So again, we got Black Panther right here, refreshed from the Toy Biz Black Panther. Gave me a really nice paint job. I took my Build-A-Figure Super Scroll that he was on a separate shelf, which I have as like a Marvel Cosmic shelf. I didn't care that he needed to be up there, and I don't want to make a second one because it's not exactly cheap. However, he goes great over here, so that is a Build-A-Figure Super Scroll. If you're looking to do your own, there's also like a separate Super Scroll out there, so you don't have to buy all of those 6 or 7 figures, which at this point is kind of getting a little hard to get. If you wanted your own, there is an older version of Super Scroll that may be more your fancy. Okay, and then here is that Storm that I was talking about earlier in the video, the silver colored Storm, and that's why I made her silver. So the way she looks in those games, it could be interpreted as white, it can be interpreted as silver, just depends on your perspective. But I liked having a white one for my comic book Storm and then the silver one for this shelf. And then here is my custom X-23. This is where I decided to put her because she looks relatively like this, or exactly like this, in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel 3. Again, this is a custom made video already on my channel if you are interested in that. I may modify her hair and head one day, but her like this is totally fine. And then we have Cyclops and Wolverine. This Wolverine specifically has bone claws, so this is bone claw Wolverine, and he came from the 3-pack of Cyclops Wolverine in the 90s Jean Grey, so that's where all of the bone claws and this color scheme of this very bright yellow came from. Where this Cyclops is in also that pack, but that pack Cyclops has a brighter yellow, so this one specifically is the previous version from Hasbro. I forget which wave it was, but it's just Cyclops, and yeah, you can use that 3-pack Cyclops and Wolverine together. There's the custom Black Widow that I just recently finished. Now, she doesn't look like this in the game. She actually looks like Age of Ultron Black Widow in the game, but I decided to put this one here because when I do a custom Age of Ultron Black Widow, I'm going to keep her on my MCU shelf. I'm going to show all of this stuff off eventually, but as you can see, things are not all that clean. I literally just cleaned this shelf off about a week or two ago, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that needs to get worked on. But I'm going to keep her like this here and keep her here. And also, I'm going to put this video up first. So my video on this custom Black Widow is coming very soon, probably within the next couple of days. I've already shot it. It's just going to put this video up first and then Black Widow. This is the brand new Spider-Man that just came out also within the last couple of weeks. The Retro Wave Spider-Man, and I felt that he would be appropriate like that. I wish his eyes were bigger, more McFarlane-like, but they didn't make it that way, and it's fine. I could totally swap him in for the Pizza Spider-Man, and I think he has bigger eyes. I'm going to keep this one here, though, for now. This is also the very recently released War Machine in stores now, as the time of this recording. $30 if you're lucky, $20 on Target and other places. But yeah, War Machine with the head, all this stuff. And then lastly is the Toy Biz Deadpool. There are many Deadpools out there, but this one has a story. I don't have time to go into it today, but this could be something that I refresh like I did with the Toy Biz Black Panther, because the paint on it is not looking great, but it is a fantastic figure. I absolutely love it. So yeah, one day I might refresh that paint on it. And then that's it for now. I do have some other additions. I just haven't gotten around to put them over here. And some new figures that are coming out very soon that will be added to this. And so Marvel is going to look really, really full very soon. I mean, it's already taking up room over here, so I might actually have to relocate this for all of the Marvel figures that are going to go up here. And Capcom, get it together, Capcom. Come on. No, Capcom figures are just a little bit different proportion, and I want them to be in the same size and proportion as Hasbro's Marvel Legends. So, like I said, most of them will be made by me. I won't do every Capcom character or every Marvel character, but it will get done, and I am super excited to continue to work on this. So I'll see you guys next time. Again, this is like a month in video. So next month I'll show you all of the progress that I make on this shelf and on Capcom side of it, and any other modifications that I make throughout the month. And hopefully you guys are subscribed so you can check that out, and leave a comment if you have some figures, characters that you think should be up here. I'm going to be working on that very soon. And there's some new ones, like I said, that are going to be coming out, and they'll be joining this roster here. So see you next time.